Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 129 of Falcons Therapy, or episode 2 of Falcons Therapy, or episode 1 of Falcons Therapy, because last week was Falcons Therapy. So thank you for everyone that pointed it out. Mark did pull me up on it during the show, but all has been amended and we are cracking on. Although I now don't believe therapy is a word anymore because I got it wrong so many times.
Still looks like therapy to me.
It's always going to be therapy now. Myself, Mark, and Liam are going to run through the Falcons' 6 draft picks, touch on the undrafted free agents that we picked up, and do a quick whip around of the league for any picks that we liked, didn't like, thought were reaches, and things like that. Before I get us started, we've got someone in the comments already. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. I saw you on my TikTok earlier, so I appreciate that you found us via that. Big respect, because my TikTok is just me chatting waffle, whereas these boys know what they're talking about, so I love that. Lads, 6 picks in the end with a little trade down in there. Overall, how we feeling? And then we'll break it down a little bit.
Liam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think, feeling pretty good about it as a whole. We covered some positions of need, pretty much every position that we sort of spoke about. Whether or not we've got a high quality player in every position, we'll find out later. But we obviously covered every position that we spoke about. I think the first 2 picks off the board were probably our highest needed positions. I'm saying corner and wide receiver probably. So yeah, I think we did pretty well with the picks that we've got really. Obviously some of our other positions we had to sort of try and fill way down the board, but that was just the way it was always going to go with the picks that we had, unless we had some really aggressive trade up strategy, which was always very unlikely. That's what we were going to end up with, and that's what we've done. So I think we've got good value at the positions. I don't think there's any major reaches really at all that we would say. No. So I think it was a good class. I know I've seen a few they walked around obviously like the grades, and quite a lot of people have graded us like lower down, but like the C's and C+. But to be honest, a lot of when you read it, it's the most ridiculous reasoning for the grading system in the world. Like it basically grades us because we didn't pick a really top player because we didn't have a first round pick. It's like, well, we couldn't pick one, so how could you? What's the point of grading us because we didn't have a first round pick to use? It doesn't make any sense. So, I think if you sort of grade the draft as a package without a first round pick, it's certainly much higher than we're being credited for, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. I mean, I've seen us top 3rd in a lot of the overalls. I think that the average consensus is probably us sitting about a B. But like you said, based on the fact that we didn't have a first rounder, I don't think that's bad going really, because you lose half of the top talent straight away, don't you? So, about you, Mark?
No, I think it was I think realistically speaking, I think it was a B+ to an A- draft, knowing the team as well as we do. I think your analysts, etc., will be quite quick to go, this guy is this, or this guy's just a 6th round pick. I think I like, for me, we talked last week at length. We needed a corner, we needed a wide receiver. I'm kind of almost surprised that we I know we're going to get into individual later on, but like I'm really surprised Terrell fell. Really surprised. So I think that was great for us. And I think that I don't think it was ever in question. I think that they quite openly wanted him, and as soon as they thought that he would fall, I mean, as we know, Kevin Stefanski actually called AJ to tell him. Which is, for AJ must have been amazing. And for me, I think he's a starter at the block. I kind of don't necessarily get along with the whole well, we didn't have a first round pick, so therefore we should have been graded worse. Like on many people's boards, Terrell was a first round pick anyway, albeit a late first round. But so it for that, I think the biggest thing that came out of this draft for me, and I say it tongue in cheek, but I'm starting to mean it a little bit more, like sort of week on week, is like Matt and Ian are doing a really good job at tricking me into thinking that we are a franchise that know what we're doing. And that and that's a really dangerous place to be for us, because we've been before. But there just seems to be just a bit more juice, a bit more focus, a bit more look. We know what we've got, we know what we want to do, and this is how we're going to go about business. I think it was very interesting that trades, for the most part, seemed to happen around us. Like there was a lot of people kind of jumping ahead of us a couple of picks, and I think that's because really the organization probably kept its cards quite close to its chest. And again, I think even if there were calls for more trades, like it just felt like, we weren't going to take anything unless it was the right deal for us. We weren't going to go desperation stakes. And that was what inspired the most confidence out of me in the draft. I watched the videos and it felt more professional. It felt like, they had goals, and for the most part, again, this is how it felt, but it felt like we achieved quite a lot of those goals coming out of the draft. So I mean, I'm really happy with the picks, and I think now as we kind of go into the wilderness of mini camps and nothing really to talk about until pre-season. For me right now, the biggest kind of question that I've got, the biggest kind of gray area, I think, is on the offensive side of the coaching staff. I'm comfortable that Ulbrich now has enough guys who have the attributes to be Jeff Ulbrich kind of players. And that offense now, that's the gray area for me. Do I trust Kevin Stefanski? Yes, I do. Do I trust Tommy Rees? I'm not. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So from a draft perspective, I cannot wait. I'm wishing the time away. I can't wait until next draft when we've got some picks and we can see what Ian and Matt and the guys can do. With some money in the bank and with some picks in the pot. But yeah, I'm really happy.
Nice. We'll take that. I think that is the general consensus. Usually this time of year you get proper uproar on social media and why did we go for this and why did we go for that? The only real hesitations that I did see were about the linebacker picks, that maybe there was better people on the board at the time still available in those positions, but new scheme, like they've been picked for a reason. We've seen it before where on paper maybe someone was better suited and then it turns out not to be the case. So I'm not gonna, like I said to you boys, I'm giving the new regime full grace, especially for this first couple of years to see what they've done.
And I think the point, obviously we'll get into kind of pick by pick, but I think around the linebackers, and we spoke last week and said this is a good linebacker class, right? And like a word I kept seeing repeated about our picks was violent hands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if you want to sell it to me, those two words are really gonna get my blood flowing. I think the Perkins pick, I mean, anybody who goes on, goes viral by saying, I grew up a Saints fan, but I ain't a Saints fan no more. I mean, my guy, you are, you cannot play a snap and I'll still love you.
Yeah, you found a way into our hearts straight away, didn't you? That was a stunning little PR move. But it's game is the game, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the DT that we got from Washington. And they handed the phone to Nate Ollie. When was the last time you seen a D-line coach in the room? Like, and it was like, and it was like, I told you we were going to take you, and we've got belief in you. And like, mate, coaching, it matters so much. And I know I say it all the time, but like, that dude's just going to run through walls. So I think you can argue those points to the nth degree, but it just felt like the guys we picked were the guys that they wanted. There probably would have been others that that maybe that got away, but they'd obviously done their homework. They obviously knew. And had done some time, done some interviews, been to the combine, met these kids, So, I just think just so close to believing they know what they're doing.
I mean, there's no reason to believe that they don't know what they're doing just yet. Like we said, it does. We say this every few years because we cycle our whole backroom staff and set up every few years recently. But
yeah,
I said it to you boys as well. Even the phone calls telling the players that they'd been selected, they felt different. And I hate the word, it's overused. But when Matt Ryan had his little bits when he was speaking to the players, I really hate it, but you felt like the aura of Matt Ryan, like how impactful that is to these young players coming from college into the league, to have someone of that status instantly like interacting with you. And I know a lot of the coaches have played and things like that, but Matt Ryan's still pretty fresh out of the game, and obviously he's a huge name over there now because he's on basically every broadcasting platform. It just felt like there's more of a blur around us because he's back in the building.
One of the kids like got put onto Matt Ryan, and he even said, he was like, "There's no way I'm talking to Matt Ryan right now." Like,
exactly.
It's it like I say, it just feels like there's a little bit more juice around the franchise. And listen, I'm not saying the season's going to be a terrific season. Like we would absolutely love it to be, but if it wasn't, I don't think any of us would be that surprised with the amount of kind of 1-year contracts and stopgaps and all of that sort of stuff, and of course the QB situation. But it just feels like the franchise has got a vision. That's why but my head just keeps coming back to it. I'm not going to be negative about it because we don't know, but my head just keeps coming back to, it's the coaching. It's the coaching. And that's the next hurdle we got to get over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Completely. Let's break down the picks a little bit then. We'll go down the board, seeing as there's not that many. It shouldn't take us too long. Of course, starting with Avion Terrell. Cornerback. We've probably been absent of a cornerback too since AJ's been here. If we're completely fair, he's never had a consistent partner. We've plugged loads of stopgap kind of signings in there. We've kind of tried to fit people in that we didn't think could do the job or give people second chances and things like that. Liam, for you, one, are you happy with the pick and what do you think about it? And two, are we overhyping the Terrell brothers combo? Is the narrative around that impacting how we actually feel about the pick?
I mean, I don't think the narrative of the having the brother is sort of hyping up the pick or anything. I think he is sort of as good of a player as we're rating him as. He is. I do believe he did drop down the board a bit, but to be honest, the combine, he basically was injured for it, and he did a private workout and pulled up running his 40 time and ran like a 4.7 or something, really slow. And obviously, all of his skill drills he didn't do very well on, but it was all because he had a hamstring injury the entire time. So that has probably affected his draft stock, which is unfair because he was injured, but likewise they can't evaluate in the same way as healthy. So that probably explains why he dropped down. I'm sure he would have performed a lot better if he was if he didn't have that hamstring injury. I'm very surprised he even ran the 40 because he clearly knew he was injured going into it. He didn't run the one at the actual combine. He only ran because of injury. Then he tried to run the one at the private workout. Shouldn't have done it and basically re-injured himself. But obviously he just wanted to show what he's got. The only thing, obviously, yes, I think he's a very good player. The only thing with this pick in particular is I don't think we haven't really got the quarterback from him. I don't think in terms of what we're looking for. I don't think he's going to line up on the opposite side to his brother. I don't think he's got the skill set and the range and the height to match up to boundary wide receivers. I think he played in the slot like sometimes at Clemson, but he could play outside. But I think he's going to be a slot quarterback for us.
Okay,
that's where he's going to play. I think. Just because he's aggressive and he's a really good tackler. Like his strength was in his tackles. Like I think last year for Clemson he didn't have any interceptions, but he had about 5 or 6, maybe even 7 forced fumbles, and they were all from heavy tackles because that's kind of his game. He can blitz as well. He can get sacks. Like he's that kind of corner. Like I think he's like 5'11", and obviously he's not got the same frame as a lot of the top cornerbacks have nowadays that wind up on the boundary. When you go up against 6'4" physical receivers in the NFL every single week, he would just struggle against that. And I believe that he'll 100% line up in the slot for us. But I think that's quite a good thing because last season, yes, we struggled with corners in general, but actually I feel like a lot of our weakness was in the middle of the field. Like I feel we're quite soft sometimes in the middle of the field. And we have obviously good linebackers, and we've had good linebackers last season, but I don't think our sort of like slot play was generally very good, and it hasn't been for a little while. Obviously, we tried to get what's he called now? CJ? What's he called? CJ Clark?
CJ Henderson.
Not CJ Henderson. The other one, Clark. What was he called?
There's Clark Phillips Jr.
That's the one. Yeah, we tried obviously. We mixed up 2 names. We tried him, and he obviously is not really working out. We tried a few different things at the slot position, so I think he's gonna probably slot into the slot. But yeah, I really like him as a player. Obviously, he's great. It's a great story as well that he's lined up with his brother. But I genuinely do believe he is a good player at what he does, and we will see some nasty tackling from him. Like he's not built, he's not a big guy, but he's really aggressive and he's really quick. Like his acceleration is rapid, and he's one of them players where if you get a wide receiver like running a slant route or anything across the middle, he will wipe him out within seconds because he is that sharp. So that's what I'm hoping to see, some forced fumbles and some aggression from him in that middle, which I think is where he'll line up.
Nice, take that. I'll very quickly jump into the comments, Mark, before I give you the floor. Got Daniel back in again, saying, "How's it going, lads?" for the second time. Hiya, mate. Nice one. Very eager tonight. I think he was the value at the pick. We needed to go with the best player available. Again, we've lived through best player available for a long time now. So if you feel there's an argument that he was BPA at that point, then maybe so, especially based on the fact that not everybody, but a lot of people expected him to go in that first round. So there's that. And then we've got Will the Thrill saying stat line for stat line, he compares well to AJ. I feel like the media loves stories, but it's been a tail end first round pick, which kind of echoes what we've been saying. Mark, how are you feeling about it?
You'll be surprised to hear I sort of disagree with Liam a little bit. I take the height piece, and don't get me wrong. I would say his kind of speciality, his kind of, his major strength of coming in as a starter in year one will probably be in that slot cornerback. But I think he can line up inside or outside. I think that he can be an outside corner. I think he can be that number 2 to AJ. I suppose, if I pose it a different way, does he potentially have less mistakes in him than Mike Hughes?
Probably.
Right. So that's the answer to the question. like, don't get me wrong. Like Mike Hughes has his moments, but he has more bad ones than he does good ones, and we have suffered this for a while, right? But now, don't get me wrong. Could Clark Phillips come and be some sort of revelation? Kobe Bryant, like, yes, maybe that is the answer. Those guys are sort of like year 2, year 3. Maybe we've coached them up to a point where actually we don't need to worry about it. I would expect that the CB2 role would really need to be kind of coached into him. But guys, if I'm starting next season and he's had a full preseason of the system, I'm sorry, I'm trusting him over Mike Hughes. Like that's just where I am with it. And I think he has the capability to grow in that role, size or not.
Just to throw a spanner in the works, and I only just did this research following J Walt TV's comment. Mike Hughes is actually 5'10", as per like NFL records. So you're not even really subbing Terrell out for someone that is 6'4" and like that super dominant force if they're about the same height and the same kind of.
Well, I mean,
that's the thing.
I suppose my point. I mean, with all due respect, I didn't know how tall Mike Hughes was, but I know that he's, no shade to him as a person, but he's probably let us down more times than he saved us. So, like, if you're sitting there going, he's not a CB2, well, lads, if it's a choice between him, if it's a toss up between him and Mike Hughes, I'm taking him. So, like, he's gonna, and I don't want it to be a sink or swim for him. I don't want him to just be put there and just be like just sort of hung out. But I think he's got the ability and the talent to be a CB2 in this team. And from my opinion, if we had a vet that could play that position competently while he learns the system and we didn't have to throw him in straight away, then yeah, that's great. But we got Mike Hughes, guys. So I'm really looking forward to what he can do. I don't think it was the wrong pick. I don't think we're being blinded by the fact that he's AJ's brother. I think it's just a nice story. I don't think anybody could argue about the fact that he was the best player available at the biggest need that we had. So it's a lovely story. It's beautiful. I had a tear in my eye when I was watching him hug it out, but it was the right pick in every respect. So for me, he better get ready for some reps because I think he's going to get them.
Nice.
Yeah, I think he'll play there, and he might well be a better option there than Mike Hughes, like he probably is. But I feel like if we're playing him there, like we're playing him away from his strength just because we have a gap to fill. I feel like the ideal solution is obviously if we have an actual natural boundary corner, and then we can let him do what he's really good at. Like his always best skills are what a slot receiver, a slot quarterback like does. That's his best skills. Not to say that he can't do the other stuff. It's more that I feel like if we want to get the best out of him, that would be a position with the luxury of having a boundary guy on the outside. So that's what the
and there's nothing to say that he can't get better at that. Is more my point.
Like, no, he can't. I feel like we've wasted his true ability because we have a need to play him in a position to train him in, if that makes sense. Like he'd be more effective as a slot quarterback in his first season if we had another boundary.
Yeah.
Compliment. Like that's what if I feel like if we end up playing him outside, it's because we have a massive gap and we have nobody else, sort of thing.
But I suppose there's an argument there to go, like, you would expect a second rounder to, be at least on the verge of starting, if not starting. And if we can get competent, and like, I'm not even asking for the world here, boys. If we can get some competent cornerback 2 play from him, then we're already better.
Yeah.
So, I don't disagree with Liam's latter point, but I just think that I don't think we have the luxury of that right now. Again, as I said earlier on, we've got this kind of team that's patched up to try and go and compete in the worst division in football, right? Which makes it possible again. So like I say, that defense was good. If that defense can stay good and have added to it a competent CB2, then we're already better.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think after the rookie class, we've got like 2 or 3 mil cap space left. So you never know. There might be some cuts. We might be able to.
Listen, cap's a myth. Cap's a myth. Cap's a myth. Cap's a myth.
Doesn't exist.
Look at the Saints. Look at the Chiefs. Look at that. It's not real. I won't believe it. It's not
monopoly money.
I couldn't be going. I think it's a bit of a shout, but I think I would put CJ Henderson on the boundary and put Terrell in the slot. That's what I go with as a starter.
Are you actually CJ Henderson or Clark Phillips Jr.?
CJ Henderson.
Okay.
Just checking, just in case.
Just in case.
I wouldn't put the even smaller guy. The guy you probably proved he can't really play nickel.
Did CJ come back? I didn't see that.
I thought he's still on the roster.
Honestly, no idea.
I thought he was.
Can we get a spot check on that, Danny?
We can get a fact check.
I'm not 100% sure that he did.
I didn't see him go off the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I am only on Wikipedia here, but apparently he's still in there. 1 second.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's good.
He still is.
That's good.
Yeah, ESPN as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was. Didn't. I mean, obviously, he's still got quite a bit to prove, but he could, if he progresses with us, if he could play there for us instead of Mike Hughes.
You never know.
This sounds like such Mike Hughes slander, and I'm sure he's a lovely man, and I'm really, really not trying to insult him.
He's not very good.
It's just like no, he's not.
Anyway, boys, before the slander continues, 3rd round pick, one to get the Georgia natives out of the chairs, Zachariah Branch. Wide receiver coming in presumably behind Drake London and probably Dotson as well. I suppose that's a little bit up for debate, to be fair. You never know. How are we feeling about him? I think there was a lot of excitement around that pick, but there is a tiny little bit of anxiety as well, just because of...
Well, yeah, I guess... Right, so there's a couple of things with this. So I don't think you really seen his true potential as a route runner in Georgia because you didn't have to. They'd throw him a screen pass and he'd just boulder his way through. I think that there is a case to say that speed at the receiver position is what we were lacking. He's a bit of a gadget guy, right? So if we assume
100%.
But if we assume just for a second, if we assume that you got London, Dotson, Ozzy, at that 1, 2, and 3 position, you can use if his flaw in this team is as just a gadget guy or a speedster to just try and open up some gaps. I think I would be very surprised if you don't see him on special teams as well. I think that there's a high potential that you put somebody with that level of acceleration in as a returner, because he's a lot quicker than Cordell Patterson was. he can and this not only can he run, but he can take contact as well. He can run people over, considering his frame. So I think like the floor for Zachariah Branch right now is like a bit of a gadget guy, returner, and someone that we look to develop, because it's probably fair to say that some of his game is still a bit raw. He didn't have the best time at USC, if I remember rightly, and I think they made him put on a bit of weight, so he did lose a little bit of speed. But when he went to Georgia, he's sort of shed a few pounds and kind of got that real acceleration back. I think the ceiling there, to Liam's point, is you put him in the slot and you let him run people ragged. But for me, I don't think it was the wrong pick, and all the Georgia fans I know, love to see their players, stay at home. And that's brilliant. That it really, really is. I just think that he's got a bit of X factor about him. I think that ceiling is potentially quite high, higher than some of the maybe bigger receivers that we probably would have expected us to take. So they have obviously gone for him for a reason, and that excites me. And like I say, even if it's a screen pass gadget guy like he was in Georgia, well, he can take off and get you 20, 30 yards when you need it. Which we might well be in that position in a few times in the coming season.
It's definitely something that we needed to address, though, because obviously it's nowhere near London's game. We don't know what version of Dotson we're gonna end up with. Like, if we're completely honest, we don't really know what we're gonna see from him, depending on the level that he's able to play at. So there was no way we weren't going to address it in some capacity. And like you said, if it's gadget for time being, then that's not a bad thing. Still not a bad thing for a third round pick.
And like when the term gadget guy is bandied around, I think it's almost perceived as a negative. It's not, because if people are game planning for your 1, 2, and 3, and we must remember that in those passing downs we're going to have Kyle out on the field as well. Having a gadget guy who can do numerous things, who can confuse defenses, and like I say, his skill set, quick, can take contact, can run through people, like that's a good little X factor to have in the back pocket, even if he's not in that 1, 2, or 3 conversation. And I am not passing judgment right now as to whether he's going to be a 2 or a 3, because we might get to game 1 and he might be sitting in that 2 position and he might be getting loads of snaps. And I would love it if that happened. Absolutely, I'm starting to sound like Kevin Keegan now, but I would really love to see it. I hear some of the criticism around the pick, and I just go, no, I understand some of it, but you could at least give him a camp, at least give him a couple of games to see what their plan is for him.
Yeah. Liam, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. I think he will probably. I think he'll be more than a gadget guy for us. Because I don't think we've got the luxury of lots of good receivers. So I think we're going to have to use him in different ways. And I think he's undersized in a lot of senses as a natural receiver, certainly out wide. But the comparison that I would give to him, or the sort of like his ceiling or his upside match, to me, in terms of who I would compare him with, would be Zay Flowers from Baltimore, who also 5'9", same height as him, pretty much the same build as him. I think Branch might even be slightly quicker. I can't remember what the 40 times were, but the Ravens line him up sometimes on the outside, sometimes in the slot, and they just basically use him a little bit of everywhere because he gets in those little pockets, and once he gets the ball in hand, he's really fast. I think he could be our Zay Flowers, who's possibly the best receiver on the Ravens because of the way that he played last season. He got like over 1,200 yards or whatever Zay Flowers. Obviously, he's been in the league for a little bit now and built up that sort of ability to play all over the field. And I think basically he could be our Zay Flowers like 1 or 2 years down the line, progress into the league and become a really, really good smaller receiver if we use him in that dynamic sort of way, like get the ball in his hand in various different, line him up all over the place basically, and just like wreak a bit of havoc with speed and getting him in sort of those pockets of space, because he's just like Flowers. Once his ball's in his hand, like he's just a nightmare to bring down. He's just very hard to get hold of. So that's exactly what I would do with him. Like he technically could be a wide receiver too, as a amount of targets, not necessarily lining up on the outside and being like the opposite Drake, but I still feel like production-wise he could be our wide receiver too in terms of number of targets. Knowing that Kyle Pitts can obviously go on the outside, on the inside as well. You could switch those two around and do different things with them both. Knowing that that's quite a dangerous combination with then Drake London basically just doing what he would do on the outside. So
yeah,
that and then he's a similar player to Zacchaeus. He's got obviously more upside than Zacchaeus. Like that's kind of what he does. He find little holes of space. Like he isn't as dynamic as Branch, like with the ball in hand or anything like that, but he's of a similar size and basically finds little pockets. I think he's a Zacchaeus type player with a higher ceiling basically. So I think he's a really good pick. If he's used correctly, he could be very, very dangerous.
I agree.
I mean, that's all we want to hear, really, because we've not exactly been blessed with offensive options over the last few years in terms of depth, have we? So the fact that we've addressed it in some capacity, despite it being a pretty defensive-heavy draft again, I'm satisfied with it. And obviously, Georgia boy again, so we take it.
Yes, sir.
Kendall Daniels, linebacker out of Oklahoma. Linebacker, maybe a debate that he's a bit of a safety hybrid in there. So I suppose it depends on how you're perceiving him. How are we feeling about this one, gents? 70 tackles last year over his last college period. Not too shabby. How we feeling with him potentially being a bit of a hybrid player? Because we did go for another linebacker after him, so maybe there's intent behind it.
So this is the one. So I believe this is the pick that people had him projected in the 6th round.
Yeah.
But this was also the pick that I seen Matt Ryan get the most excited about. He was another one one of the ones that I read about violent hands. I went back and I watched some film. A friend of mine actually, who's a Steelers fan, was watching the draft when the pick came in, and they showed some film, and he actually texted me and he was like, "Bro, like, you know, I love the film I've just seen on this kid," and I think that you're probably right about the fact that are we going to use him as some sort of safety hybrid? I don't think so. But what that skill set actually really kind of gives us is somebody who can read coverage, and I think in that was really one of the being able to read coverage and be able to come downhill with speed. So actually what I probably envision more, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing the two, but I actually see him more potentially being a bit of a bit part replacement for what Caden Ellis used to do. Because Caden Ellis was extremely good at reading coverage and could come downhill with some gusto. So I think it's probably more likely that they've seen that skill set, and it's a really typical Jeff Ulbrich kind of player. I think the conversation here is, I realize that sometimes there's this and that projected. They obviously felt like they wanted to take him where they had a chance to take him. Would he have dropped? Yes, possibly. I don't know. Draft projections tend to be unpredictable at best, right? So we've seen a lot of players who were projected to go really, really high don't go until rounds and rounds later. So and again, one of the big things for me was Matt Ryan was like literally buzzing, jumping around the draft room when we got him. So that's enough for me. And if it goes some way to replacing Caden Ellis, Caden Ellis, you're dead to us now, FYI. If you're still watching, then but I don't think they get any signal down in the swamp. So I'm happy to kind of go with Matt on this one. I think he's got some attributes that could help fill a void in that defense.
Liam, any additions?
Yeah, I mean, I like him as a player. I think you could probably tell I've done a few comparison sort of things for this. And this comparison is quite like freaky because he kind of even looks like him, as well as like being like the same sort of player and size. But he's like our sort of potentially new Devondre Campbell, like linebacker, dreads, all that sort of stuff. Just a bigger physical guy who can tackle. I think a lot of concerns around Daniels was like he's more of his like technique and is sort of like not very refined, but he's got all the sort of physical attributes that you want basically. So like he could mold into our sort of like Devondre Campbell style player, just a big physical linebacker, could do a few different things, got decent speed for his size and big hitter. Devondre Campbell turned into a very good player for us eventually. Like he did, very productive for us after a while. And if you could do it, if you can get anywhere near that kind of level of play, I think for the round we took him in, is that he'd be a good player. And yeah, I think the linebacker position this year was possibly, I'm going to say probably the strongest position group maybe in this draft, like in terms of, it certainly was in the top 2 or 3 position groups so yeah, there probably maybe different options we could have taken, but likewise, he's one of a strong group. Some of them are probably going to be good and some of them are probably going to be not. Like you just got to go with what your gut says and what you feel like you're trying to fit into the team. And I think he's a type of guy that we don't really have. So, why not go and get him?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You look like you were thinking then, Mark.
Didn't I read somewhere that Davine Diablo was like an undrafted free agent?
Was he?
I might be wrong.
He could be.
Go on, Liam. You have that one.
Yeah, Danny, typing
get on the Googles.
Yeah, I can't remember. No, he was a 3rd round pick.
Third round, I see.
3rd round.
Yeah. This changes the narrative of whatever story you were going to tell.
Well, it wasn't so much that because I just like, I think as we patch this team up in terms of skill sets that we either have been lacking for a while or we're missing because we've lost players. There is a lot of success stories from the later rounds of the draft. And, I think obviously we can all sit here and kind of go, this guy could be a starter, this guy could be a starter, this guy could be a starter. I think it's really, really difficult when you've got people who are trying to spin a narrative that, it was a reach pick or whatever. And I just kind of go, well, they've this defensive unit have coached up guys who, made. I mean, obviously, Diablo didn't make it on the Raiders. I think another great example of recent years is Brandon Dawlis, right? Brandon Dawlis was drafted in the 5th round, right? And and he ain't losing his spot in that D line. So coaching's everything. I think he's a Jeff Ulbrich kind of player, and I think he's in the right hands to get better. And I love that comparison to Devondre Campbell. I totally forgot about him.
Nice. On to the 6th round then. So pick 208, Ontario Thompson, defensive tackle, Washington. Few onliners saying Grady Jarrett light and things like that. Make of that what you wish. Obviously, we are into the latter rounds now, so everybody's a little bit more up in the air. Of course, you still do get your gems, but how are we feeling about that? I know, Mark, you love your trench boys, and we have been saying last show and then our roundup shows at the end of last season that we need to keep working on them trenches. So how are we thinking about this one?
Well, I think I think we need a depth at the position. I think he's probably spoken about in that sort of Grady Jarrett like, because he's smaller in stature. But I think probably what it tells me is that he is going to be a depth piece. I would imagine that they swapped Rook, who was another smaller guy, for a bigger guy, because they probably foresee they probably want a big. I think probably what it signals is we'll probably move in this system to a much more traditional 4-3 defense rather than Raheem's 3-4, which I think with Jalen Walker and potentially JPJ, if that all works itself out, I think that suits us better. I think it suits Ulbrich's system better, and he's always had a lot of success whilst running that sort of 4-3 defense. It was that guy. It was this one who Nate Ollie was obviously campaigning for. So Nate Ollie was, probably one of the few coaches that we really wanted to keep a hold of, certainly after last season. So again, I'm kind of willing to trust that he's his guy, and that he wanted him there for a reason, even if it is a depth piece. It's not a depth piece from the point of view of let's just get a body in there. He's obviously got qualities that is that Nate Ollie thinks is valuable. So for me, I'm more than happy to go with Coach Ollie on this one.
Liam, any advances?
I mean, I think he's a short guy who's gonna probably struggle a little bit sometimes against some of the bigger blockers initially. He's just going to require the sort of the play of Grady Jarrett. I think he's only like 6'4", 6'1", something like that. It's not tall. So he's going to have to be he's going to have to be explosive with good leverage, like Grady was, like somebody who just is just basically going in low and like basically bullying and bull rushing people, but in a different way than somebody who's got just pure size. It's going to have to be a technique thing. He's got all the physical attributes in terms of his body shape. He must have some power in him. Like he's going to be absolutely, like, if he gets his technique right and can use his smaller frame his small height to his advantage, he could be like a bit of a I think a lot of the words that people using around the draft was he's a disruptor, which is kind of what Grady Jarrett did a lot of. Like he didn't always get like sacks, he just caused havoc on that line in some way. He was always doing something, wasn't he? He was just disrupting things, causing blockers to fall over, whatever it was, like that type of thing. And I think that's what he could potentially do if we can sort of like coach him into something that is that type of role.
Nice. I mean, I am admittedly quite blind now, so I'm following your two's wisdom and grace on these picks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's a part of it though, isn't it, Liam, where sometimes you kind of go, look, you know, all of these guys are coming. I think one of the things that sort of made me sit up is none of these kids are from schools that you know that are in you are.
This is exactly which was the next thing I was about to say. Is that these are
okay, cool.
Yeah, they're not from some normal schools. They're all from from big schools.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's important. It might not seem important to people who aren't necessarily in tune with college football. And look, you know, mainly I'm trying to get across as many, you know, prospects and as much film and stuff like that leading up to the draft as we can. But there is a point where there's just so many teams and so many players. You're never going to know everybody, right? So again, I think where my head tends to be at is like, especially in these later rounds, the kids from the bigger schools are the ones that at least would have come from a bit more of a professional setup. They would have had a much higher level of coaching, which means that then when they get to the NFL, they're I wouldn't say used to it, but like they're more receptive to it. And I think that's a really, really, really important point. I mean, I'll be honest with you, we're about to come on to my favorite pick. So, you know, I'm really, really excited to talk about Travis Perkins. So, Harold Perkins. Sorry, not Travis Perkins. I don't know why I said Travis Perkins. That's a shop chain in the UK. Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So that's not what I meant. So should we move on to mine and Liam's favourite pick?
I won't hold you back, boys. So round 6, only a handful of picks later, Harold Perkins Jr., linebacker from LSU, former 5-star recruit, couple of injuries, a little bit of inconsistency, still 60 tackles, 6 sacks, still a lot of upside there. I'm going to just give you both the floor for this one because I know you've been sat waiting patiently.
So you read out a few of his accolades there. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. Not only a 5-star recruit, he was the number 1 linebacker in that entire class going into college. Like in terms of like he was the outright best national linebacker graded. And I think in his first college year, he made like all of these like weird teams that they make up in America of like these all American, all whatever things. He made all of the alls basically. All freshmen or whatever. I don't know. There's the amount of different teams you can make. He made all of them basically. Obviously, he dropped off a little bit. Had a couple of injuries. Didn't quite live up to what the potential that he had, and that was because his potential that he obviously coming out of high school was incredibly high. That it was very hard to live up to that anyway. And then I think he had a redshirt injury season. I think I don't know what year it was, but he missed. He played a few games, got injured, and redshirted that season. And then came back and got like a pretty solid season in 2025. I think he's like potentially they see him as not. I don't know. He's not maybe like physically like matches to a lot of like NFL linebackers these days, but I really think he can make up for it with his speed and aggression and just the way that he plays. He's incredibly coachable. I'm fairly sure I was looking at the big boards and the draft boards like way as I always do like way too early in the college season when it could be relevant. But he was in the first round for a lot of season.
Yeah. At one point, he was a first
round pick for at one point. In like I don't know, I can't remember exactly when that dropped off, but he like to somebody like who was potential first round pick. Yes, he did drop, but there's still something. There's obviously still something there. That's the thing. Like there's a lot there. Like for you for the high school and everything, he's clearly still there's still a very good player there.
And I think it's worth noting as well, LSU haven't been good since Joe Burrow. So it's long gone are the days of Ed Orgeron, who was like if Danny, I obviously I don't expect you to know who Ed Orgeron is, but if have you ever seen The Water Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know how there was the guy on the Fonz's coaching staff who was like so Cajun that nobody could understand him.
Yeah.
That was basically Ed Orgeron, right? And
Nice.
that LSU team that he had the year that Joe Burrow was quarterback, arguably one of the best college teams. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, probably top 10 college teams of all time, in my opinion. That LSU team, and it was stripped after the season ended, and all of the LSU players pretty much got drafted. So. I'm not saying that that's why his production went down, but I think it's sometimes it's you see players with talent whose talent just gets wasted in bad teams. So for me, as Liam just said, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think pigs might fly the amount I'm agreeing with Liam tonight, but I think the potential that is there for him to again just be a menace, whether you put him out on the edge for a couple of snaps or you stick him to rush, like he can because of his size, he can rush an A gap, he can cause havoc in a B gap, and like I say, to stick him out on the edge, so just let him loose, because there is an animal in that man, and we have seen it in flashes in college, and you don't get potential projected first round pick if there's nothing there. So to pick that level of potential up in the 6th round when people are out picking punters and all that sort of stuff, it's just and long snappers, etc. It's it was I couldn't get over it. And for me, that he could end up being like one of our biggest draft steals of a long time if Jeff Ulbrich can coach him up.
Yeah, I think so. And just
go on,
an extra point on him that was good. This just to sort of like summarize his like athletic ability potentially and what he can do in different areas is. I remember this because it was obviously one of the things where they showed the clip quite a lot. I don't think it was last season, but maybe the season before. This is where, like, in the bowl game, whatever, one of the bowl games that they have, when LSU were playing and Branko was still there, and like basically LSU were just like struggling to basically like run the ball or move the ball. They put Hal Perkins in at running back, and he scored a touchdown on his first touch. But it was on like the 5-yard line, but he got the ball at the 5-yard line and he ran across some players and and scored a touchdown.
Love to see it.
It shows that if this is a player who's a linebacker, they thought, what, you could even do running back, and that requires some athleticism and skill to just be able to just go to get the trust of somebody like Branko and say, like, what, I'm going to throw you in at running back, so why not? And scored a touchdown. So.
Nice.
Clearly, we've got somebody there who can do some different things. So, don't think we'll see him at running back, but just in case.
No.
I mean, you never know. We've seen.
Could you imagine if he
winds up for day one, Bijan on the bench?
Could you imagine if he ends up becoming like Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah.
and again, he already has my heart.
Yeah,
you sit there, on your phone getting interviewed, and you're like, I ain't a Saints fan no more. Like,
that's all we needed to do. Little
so
nod of the cap, little gesture towards us. You're in the you're one of us. One of us. Right, before we move on to our last pick of the draft, just quick jump into the comments for Paul, obviously. OG, long-time watcher. He was otherwise engaged because his team Ipswich were playing Southampton. If anyone's interested, they drew 2-2, which means Ipswich are basically guaranteed automatics and Southampton are into the playoffs. So there we go. And yes, we are looking at the Madrid trip. You know we are. It's a strong possibility. So our last pick of the draft, round 7, pick 231, Ethan Onianwa, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Probably a developmental player, to be fair, but you never know. We're not stacked on the O-line at the moment in time, so potential.
It's funny that I mentioned it earlier on. Kids coming out of smaller, maybe less significant schools. So he was a transfer from a really small school called Rice. And he was one of their kind of star players. Like he went to Ohio State with quite a good reputation. And just it never seemed to quite happen for him. I don't know if that means he's just a potential depth piece. I don't know. I mean, he is an enormous man. I believe, if I remember right, he's 6'7".
Nice.
He's also done. He can play both sides, and he has done a little bit of work at guard as well. So maybe a bit of a bit part depth piece. I'm not really sure why it didn't work at Ohio State. Like he went and everyone was expecting him to play, and then he just kind of never did. Sometimes that can be down to scheme fit. Sometimes it can be down to coaching. I don't know, but it just never happened for him. So he showed some real potential at Rice, but again, that was a smaller school, poor opponents, etc., etc. So I'm happy to take him down that developmental path. I think it says a lot that actually Jack Nelson's days are probably numbered. Don't think the kids ever played a snap. So to go out and get another tackle, maybe says something. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe our future O-line is Jack Nelson and Ethan, but at this point I doubt it.
Sorry, Will in the comments literally was typing that as you said it, and I thought, oh, that's consistent. At least there's a shared understanding.
What did it say?
It's not going to come down to Callahan's coaching, not just for Onianwa, but also for the future of Jack Nelson.
Well, listen, I think that's, obviously I have my reservations about the depth on the O-line. I still think that we need to do something at the guard position for depth. I am slightly concerned that O-line that was so good a couple of years ago is now starting to deplete a little bit.
Yeah.
But the one thing that gives me confidence is the fact that we have arguably one of the best O-line coaches we could possibly have. And possibly that in Bill Callahan will go down in NFL history as probably one of the best O-line coaches. So hopefully, maybe it was a recommendation from Bill, and hopefully Bill hopes he can do something with him. But yeah, time will tell on this one, I think.
Yeah. Liam, do you want to add anything on Onianwa?
I say I don't know much. I don't know much about it really. He played obviously some games for Ohio State, and then he worked with someone else. But I mean, it's quite a tough spot to sort of like lock down for any roster position on that type of team. So he's a 7th round pick. I'm sure there's not much sort of expectation around him. He's probably gone for somebody who's got like the size and the athleticism and the potential to do something with the what could have been probably not making it or playing, but like a 7th round pick is somebody like that's worth a punt if they think if they think he's got some coachable potential. Obviously, Ohio State saw something in him when they brought him over. That's probably enough to say that he warrants a bit of a look at by some coaches at least. Yeah. And if it doesn't work It doesn't work out. It's a 7th round pick. So
yeah.
I mean,
No,
again,
absolutely.
he's 6'7", boys. Like
yeah.
they're over 300 pounds. Like you want to, even if it's just like even again, might just be special teams. A big guy is quite quite handy to have on special teams. So there might be every chance that he gets kept around. I mean, again, you're going to compare him to could he be better than Storm Norton? Could he?
Yeah.
We don't know, but if he is, then he's already a better backup. So time will tell on that one. But that's again, I think it's probably wishful thinking in a 7th-round pick.
Yeah. Sounds good to me, boys. I think we'll do a quick 5 minutes on the undrafted free agents. If there's any that you think have stood out, I will, however, start this one because I'm only bothered about one for the time being.
Yeah, we all know which one you want to talk about.
Brandon Fraser, 6'7", tight end. Good God. Kyle Pitts, yes, he's our tight end, but we know he's not really the whole package for a tight end. He's very much that flair player, receiver build. We have brought Austin Hooper back, who is much more suited to that blocking game, but obviously he's coming to the back end of his career now. If you can get a man that's 6'7" doing some of your blocking jobs for you, that's not a bad little tool. And I'm not saying that's all he is. Obviously, I don't know a great deal about him, other than I have been watching some of his tape, to be honest, because I had nothing better to do with my time than watch undrafted free agents tape. But 6'7", massive unit. I'll take it at tight end when we're not blessed with the versatility that we have in that position.
I suppose the big question is, so you're gonna, you're probably going to be using Austin Hooper as a bit of a blocker and a pass catcher. Kyle Pitts is going to be a pass catcher, right? We know that. We know he can't block, bless him. So then the debate for me is, well, you've got Charlie Warner, who is a blocking tight end. Is he better than him? Because I think he's going to cost us roughly about 12 million this year, maybe even more. So this kid might be a bit of a cheaper option. He's used as a halfback as well. So anybody, I know it's not a position that's spoke about a lot. So for any of the audience who isn't familiar with what a halfback does, it essentially, he'll be in the backfield, usually with a running back, and he'll be used as a blocker for that running back. Kevin Stefanski likes to use 2 tight end sets. So I'll be honest, out of this sort of undrafted free agency class, I think it completely depends on his technique. But if you're just going to use the kid as a bit of a battering ram to help Bijan, get some of them outside runs going, I have no issue with that whatsoever. I'd imagine it'll be a cheap pickup. He's likely going to be better than Felipe Franks. So
I was literally just going to say, we managed to keep Felipe Franks around for a good while. Then he left, and then he came back. So,
and he's left again, isn't he?
Has he gone again? Probably. I don't think I've seen him
I hope so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's, in terms of undrafted free agents, again because of his size and his ability and his qualities, you'd kind of hope that they're like, I mean, is it going to warrant a 53-man roster spot?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know, guys. But
no,
I love the idea of it. I absolutely adore the idea of just using this absolutely enormous individual, who by the way, like for 6'7" and 200 and high 200 pounds, like he can shift, like he can move. I'll be more than happy to give him a roster spot, but I think it's just like realistically in that tight end room, you're probably going to need. I suppose you could say we'll go with 4, but only having 2 pass catching tight ends.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it's
feels
it
uncomfortable.
is just me fantasizing just because of the principle of him more than the actual quality that's there.
I'm living this fantasy with you, Danny. Genuinely.
Yeah, he's one of. So we picked up 16 undrafted free agents, and there was 4 invited to the mini camps as well. So obviously, a large percentage of them ain't seen the 53, but you never know. A couple of practice squad spots and stuff like that for a couple, maybe. We picked up Kobe Bryant, and he's well overachieved what we thought he would do. So you never know. You never know where the things have happened. Any other players for either of you? And I know, of course, we are clutching at straws.
I've got a few. This is my favourite part of the class.
I've only got one I wanted to talk about, so go on, Liam.
No, you can go first if you want. It might be one of mine.
No. Liam needs half an hour.
I was just interested by the quarterback.
Okay, he's not one of mine, so go for it.
Jack Strand.
That's the one. Not a great school.
He played for a team that doesn't really exist, but
but like quite from what I was reading, like quite a lot of like honors, like these weird made up honors that seem to get bandied around. There's a lot of them. I've got all of them. It's
it's almost like there's too many.
I suppose where my head's at is, I think that we've got the potential for QB3 to potentially be in an important position. I would just be interested to see whether he and I've talked about his honors, but his stats were pretty good. Again, not in a great team, not in a great. I'm not even going to say not in a great, not a good team, not a good division, but has certainly shown that he can play some ball. I would just be interested to see if actually there might be a battle for QB3, because I mean, all right, Trevor Simeon's got experience. It doesn't mean he's very good either. So I think that might be potentially one to watch.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that one.
I read we met with Mr. Strand before the draft and basically said we told him that if he doesn't get drafted, which I think he probably knew he wasn't going to do out of like MSU, whatever team it was.
Yeah,
that we were going to sign him as a free agent. I think we told him that before the draft, so we obviously wanted him. He's a very different style of quarterback than obviously he's like 6'5" or 6'6", whatever he is, and he's a big.
I was going to say 6'4". I thought
he's more of a traditional quarterback. And he I believe he played very, very well. Like obviously, yes, his competition level was lower, but like a lot of people liked what he could do. He was never going to have the standout like accolades at the level that he needed to get drafted. So that doesn't mean you can't perform. Like he could surprise us and he could get a roster spot potentially. So yeah.
I just thought it was maybe it's romance more than anything, but they were quite quick to go and sign him. Like I say, I don't want to say like that I would trust him over Trevor Simeon. I just go like, well, if you're going to end up playing a QB3, like lads,
we're already in the
mud. So just like let's get somebody who might be a little bit different. Who were yours, Liam?
So I got 3 of the ones. There's a couple others that like could stand out as well, but the 3 that I've got, only because I kind of know who they are essentially, is I'll go past 2 of them because you'll complain for why I'm mentioning them. But obviously we signed Cam Dewberry, who's the Alabama starting guard.
Shock.
Like that, he did, not to say he's amazing, but like if you played a full season for a top team in one of the top conferences, you've probably got something about you, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like you've got some. If you're getting on that roster, you've got something about you. That to me says that he's a pretty decent pickup. I thought he was going to get drafted. they're up in the top 3 of that division. Maybe a push. But they sign good players. They don't always do well recently, but they signed. They tend to have good. If you're getting onto a defensive line, that's usually quite highly rated. Then you're doing something right. I thought he was going to get drafted. To be honest, I thought he was going to be a 6th or 7th round pick. So I was surprised to see him go undrafted. And then my next one is James Brockmeyer. I think he's
yeah.
So he was Miami's starting center last season, who obviously they got to the national final, and again, not two of the seasons before that, he was Alabama's starting center as well. So that's why I know who he is. And I remember him quite because he ended up getting transferred, but he never gave up a single sack, quarterback pressure, or quarterback hit his entire starting for Alabama. Not a single one. He's a little bit undersized, he's not big as some of the centers are nowadays. That's probably why he's gone undrafted. But he would be, he had some potential. Center's a position that we probably need some depth in, at least potentially a starter.
Yeah, well, we picked that dude up from the Titans, and this is the this is the time to potentially get rid of some of them sort of vet minimum contracts if he can show it. Again, any undrafted free agent that can somehow manage to add a bit of depth is a real win.
Yeah, 100%. Last guy that I'm probably my main sort of I don't know whether he'll make a roster spot, but is the wide receiver Keelan Marion from Miami. Obviously, again, Miami made the national final. He was very productive throughout the season. I think he ended up with 800 yards. And I remember the reason why I know him is because in the quarterfinal against Ole Miss, he dominated the game. He got 130 yards and a touchdown, and he was the standout receiver on the field when he beat Ole Miss. And I just remembered him thinking this guy can play. Kind of forgot about him after that a little bit. I didn't really follow him throughout the draft or anything. I didn't really look for him again. Then realised he dropped to us as an undrafted free agent, and that was the guy that I was watching play dominate that quarterfinal. So
nice.
Any commentary as to why he dropped?
Well, I think he obviously he was on a team with other standout wide receivers, and he probably was never the number one target for them. He's not the quickest or the biggest. He's got no physical attributes that you think would look and stand out as a any kind of athletic freak or anything like that, like a lot of the wide receivers are. I think he was just in a position where there was players that outshone him from a lot of the season, apart from the odd game where he would be he just played really well and then kind of be second up receiver option for the rest of the game. But every time he needed to step up, he stepped up. He played for a team that got to the national final. He had 800 yards contribution or whatever it was throughout the season. That to me screams somebody who can probably play and is in a position that we don't have lots of strong players in wide receivers. If in depth wise, I don't think we have a lot of depth. I think he's a good shout to make the roster spot. I think out of the wide receivers we got, Wade Rutherford and stuff because he played for Georgia Tech. I don't think he'll make the team. I think if anyone's going to make get a roster spot from the wide receiver group, I'm going to call it being him.
Nice.
Was there? I watched a video earlier on, Danny. I hope you've got it in front of you because I don't, unfortunately. Wasn't there a running back from Georgia?
Cash
Jones.
Great name. Cash.
It is. It is. I stumbled across a video about him, and I think there was I think ultimately the video was saying, look, he didn't get a lot of production in Georgia, but for things like special teams and stuff like that, could be could be a little good addition to that sort of unit.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any Georgia fans in the chat. It'd be great to for you guys to drop a comment and give us a view on that. But yeah, it was just a name that got mentioned that when I was doom scrolling earlier on. So
yeah,
I don't know what the thoughts on that is.
With our Georgia links, of course, Malik Rutherford that Liam just referred to from Tech, and Cash Jones have received quite a bit of hype, whether it be geographical hype because they're people that everyone's seen play, or for quality, remains to be seen. But they're going to get their opportunities, aren't they? So they can only
hope so.
Only show us.
Yeah, he's a good little player. He's one of like players where you can just basically like put them on the field in like weird formations, and he's a great pass catching back. Is Cash Jones
the gadget guy?
Yeah. But mainly you just put him in the backfield and let him kind of throw the ball to him and let him run past people. Plays a lot of bite. I remember because he did some good stuff against Alabama in the last game that they played against him, and I didn't like him, so that's it.
I mean, again, I come back to a really, really easy question. Is he better than Casey Washington?
As a running back or as a wide receiver?
Well, I don't know if he's going to be a gadget guy.
If he's going to be a gadget, if you're going to use him in the pass, if you're going to use him as a running back, but in the short pass game, then yeah, he's better. I think he's got more uses across the field than somebody like Casey.
Interesting. Maybe one to watch.
We've got J Walt TV saying that Mr. Jones will be money on special teams.
Yeah, he could do stuff like that.
So interesting.
Sounds good.
Let's see how camp goes. There's a hell of a long way to go before the season still yet, so I'm sure we'll get plenty of updates before then. Cautious of time, but does anyone have any other picks that they wanted to quickly talk about that they think fell weird or anything like that? Or
I just want to have a moment's silence for the LA Rams, who used our pick. It was almost like the pick was haunted by us.
Yeah, they didn't want to pick him, but they just drew to him.
Well, there was and Sean McVay looked mortified. So that was quite a moment, I think, in the draft. But I know I can feel Liam's eyes burn into us because I'm slandering Ty Simpson. But I think Liam, you would probably agree that he wasn't worth the 13th pick in the draft. So it's I think it was just that to me stood out as one of the most craziest picks of this draft.
I think he had no clue whatsoever that he was going to drafted there, because I've never seen McVay so fuming in my life. And the reporter had the cheek to go, so you've just drafted your future starting quarterback, and he went, he's challenging for the number 2 spot. He's not even guaranteed the number 2 spot. I don't know what you're on about. I was like, oh my God.
It's 13. Wow.
This is awkward.
It was not what the Rams needed to do. Yes, obviously they're trying to plan for the future. I get it. It seemed like they could, at 13, you can get a player that can contribute this season.
Now, yeah.
Actively, he knew he wasn't going to. It's amazing for Ty Simpson. It's the perfect situation because he's going into a team where he knows he doesn't need to start.
Yeah.
He's got a great coaching staff around him. He's got bags of ability. He really has got. He's a potential 13th pick quality. But he was never going to be that this season, so you wouldn't really draft somebody that high, knowing that he's definitely going to say he's not even going to challenge Stafford. He's just not ready to do that. He's got a lot of it. He was obviously the Heisman front runner for half of the season until he fell off with a few pressure situations. He couldn't handle high pressure. Basically, that's what he struggled with. He just, he panicked. He was like a rabbit in the headlights at some points in the season when he got like consistent pressure onto him, but he's got every physical ability and attribute that a quarterback would want. Brilliant player, brilliant leader. But
I think it's probably fair to say if McVay didn't know, Stafford didn't know.
No,
but Stafford will be worried about. Like, he's a project piece of
it's
a 13th pick project.
Yeah,
piece.
he's too high for a project piece, but he is. That's what they've drafted him, knowing that's exactly what he is. So
yeah,
at 13,
it's bold. It's bold. I'll give him that.
That's wild.
Yeah, I get they're in a good position where they've got a good roster, but I didn't think they had the luxury to take it. Like, I could understand if it was like a Jordan Love position, like the last pick
and he would have been there.
Yeah, I think he would have been there. Unless the Rams knew something else, something different, that somebody was going to get him. I don't know, but I thought he would have been there. So I thought they could have traded down and got him, even if he traded down like 6, 7, 8, 9 spots. Definitely like they could have done that. Like, I still don't think they should have taken him anyway. In the fact that the SDB have got a very good roster, but I just felt like they could have, their potential for
you could
go again and win it again, the Rams. Like, so why not do it now?
You could have done something to kind of cement that sort of.
They're not going into a rebuild right now. They've got another 1 or 2 seasons at least, probably. Like, as long as Stafford can play, basically, they've got potential for Super Bowl. So I don't see why you take almost like a rebuild like piece at that point. It seems strange.
I think the only other notable thing the draft which I found hilarious, and I find it hilarious but bittersweet at the same time, because I know I've said it before. One of my best mates is a Steelers fan, and Steelers were on the phone with that. And the dude's weird. Like, he was that one who kind of interviewed at the combine, and he looked like he was on shrooms. He sounded like he was on shrooms. But the Steelers were on the phone to him, going, "Look, we're going to pick you. It's going to be great. Like, blah blah blah." And then the Eagles traded up 2 spots ahead of the Steelers to take him whilst he's on the phone to Pittsburgh. Like,
heavy.
That is diabolical behavior. And you should. I don't think anybody would be surprised that the Eagles like to indulge in diabolical behavior. But it's that was one of the weirdest moments I think I've seen.
Yeah, that was rough to watch. However, for him, I don't think going to the Eagles, I don't think that's going to hurt his pride too much, even if he fancied going to Pittsburgh.
No.
I think going to a team that's capable of winning over going to the Steelers is
oh, for sure. I'll give you that.
Stunning stuff. Any last ones from you, Liam, or are you golden?
I was only going to say I think we mentioned it. People mentioned it. I do feel a bit bad for Tyler. Going behind another high round draft pick in a running back position, who full well is going to get a lot of snaps because you took him at number 3, and Tyler's going to have to sit and take 20% of the snaps again.
he would have rather stayed at Atlanta and done that. He is
for more money, that's a good consolation. But I'm sure he was relishing the chance to play. Yeah.
I was a bit fuming at that one on his behalf, because I thought he's worked for this opportunity and he's gone to a team where he's like, right, I am the running back one there, and then just he's got no chance now.
It's one of them where you go, wow, Cardinals are still a bin fire. Like they're still making stupid.
I don't know what they're doing.
Like it's almost a Falcons-esque. So,
maybe our Falconism is rubbing off on everyone.
It's just rubbing off everybody.
Loose into the air is clearing.
Possibly, yeah.
And they've got James Conner, who's obviously had some injuries. He's got a decent. He's got a decent contract. It's only a few million over a contract, but he's a running back 3 potentially.
It's wild.
Why is he a running back? What did he do? What are they doing? I don't understand.
So stupid.
Right, cracking show, boys. I've
got one shout out, please, Danny, before we end.
Yeah.
I don't know if all of our watchers are into NBA, but tonight is a big night for the Atlanta Hawks.
Go
They are currently tied in the series with the New York Knicks. One of probably our most sort of recent rivalry kind of teams. Like we've had some real run-ins with the Knicks over the past sort of 5-6 years. And to be fair, the team has done amazing to get to the playoffs. They were one of the best teams in the league in the second half of the season. So it's a big night for Atlanta sports. And it would be, and there's a lot of difficult teams to still play, but I think, obviously one thing that I hope shines here on this podcast is we've got a lot of love for Atlanta as a city, and it would just be great for them to get to the next step in the playoffs, because playoff basketball is a lot like playoff football. It's very unpredictable, and if you're, as long as you're in it, you could win it. So go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Go Hawks. Myself and Cal are on holiday for games 6 and 7, so I'm going to see if there's a dingy bar that'll put it on for us. But I might be reaching there. Anyway, long show tonight, but we did go through a hell of a lot of stuff. So thank you all for joining us live, and thank you for getting involved in the comments and educating mainly me on our draft picks and stuff like that.
It'll be a little while before we have another show, right? So
I was going to say, to be honest, until there's some juicy news and stuff like that and camps in full swing, then we'll probably just be periodic, because you don't want to listen to us just talk about our lives, probably. So I mean, if you do, give us a shout. But yeah, so thank you all for watching. Mark, you'll probably break your mic again, but you can jazz it up a little bit if you want. You want to tell them where we are? It's pretty late as well, isn't it?
Guys, you can find us all over the socials. We are at ATL Falcons UK on everything, all of the platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Open brackets. I'm still calling it Twitter, Elon. You can't do anything to me. And of course, this is a podcast, so you can find us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or where you get your podcast.
Nice.
It's the best I can do to jazz it up. It's
Yeah,
absolutely wasted that I can't scream down my AirPods and do it as I normally would. But you don't hear it anyway, so
exactly. There's something about the reverberation in your voice, mate. It just doesn't it, does it? But
a lot of people tell me that I've got real vocal reverberation.
Ladies and gents, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for coming along to Falcons Therapy. We will be back next time when the camps are flowing and we have something to talk about. See you next time.